Hi everyone, it's Jeannie with Makers Unify, and today I'm going to show you how to make jar decor using air dry clay and old pickle jars or chip dip jars or spaghetti sauce jars that you have around the house. You can turn them into beautiful decor using air dry clay and paint. For this first jar, I'm going to use the Trimmings 2 mold and my air dry clay. I used the Tight Bond glue, as you can see. It's a quick set glue, and I believe this was a sauce jar. I'm not too sure. So I'm going to take some cornstarch and a paintbrush and paint it inside of the mold. This makes it easier for the air dry clay to be released once it has set in there. So you just roll it between your hands and kind of just smush it in the mold, and I have this tool that I use to smash it down and make it all even, and then you can get the excess off the sides and take it off. I'm going to put the glue on the back and then go ahead and place it on your jar. So when you put the glue on, some people use their finger. I prefer to use a paintbrush. Make sure that you get it to the ends pretty good so that you won't have any gaps when it does dry, because the clay will shrink up a bit after it's all dried. And I do have to apologize for my off-camera shots. I need to remember that I have to pull my project up a little more so that you can see them better. So the next mold that I'm using is the IOD mold Wings and Feathers. I'm going to use the peacock feathers. There's 2 of them in here. They both face different directions, so be aware of that. Again, I'm going to put the cornstarch in so that when I put the air dry clay, smash it down in there, then it's easier to release. What I like about the IOD molds is that they have a lip on the outside, so it's so much easier than other molds to scrape around it and to get the castings, I guess you call them, to release. So now I'm just going to go ahead and glue the peacock feathers around the jar. Now this mold is by Redesign by Prima, and it's called Delicate Flora, and I have to say I had a really hard time working with this one. It took me a couple of tries to get it to release, and then I still had to clean up the edges. It doesn't have the nice clean edge like the IOD molds have, so I was a little bit disappointed in this. But I finally got it to work. Took a little bit, and there's, like I said, there's some cleanup that I had to do around the like around the delicate parts of it, the intricate parts of it. Some of it I just decided just to leave it on because I was painting it anyway, so you really wouldn't have seen it, but I do wish that it was a lot easier for these castings to be released. So I went ahead and made several of these castings, and I glued them around the top, middle, I guess, portion of the jar. And so now I'm going to set it aside for the night to dry. Now this is the next day and it's all dry. I'm going to use this paint by Rust-Oleum. It's called Chalked Ultra Matte Paint in Serenity Blue. And I'm going to use the baking soda mixture with it. So I'll pour some in the bowl here, and I think I put about 1 or 2 spoonfuls of the baking soda, mix it together to get that textured look. You kind of want to go with the consistency that you want. Of course, the more baking soda you put in, the thicker it's going to be. So it's kind of what your preference is. And what the baking soda paint mixture does is it gives some texture to the jars, makes it look a little more ceramic, and it also makes it look a little vintage, I think. So I'm going to go ahead and do the lid. I put 2 coats on everything, on the jar and on the lid. And some of the glass parts, the paint does come off, so you'll have to go back and touch it up. You can spray like a clear acrylic spray on it beforehand, and that may help to help the paint adhere, but I did not do that. I really didn't have a whole lot of trouble keeping the paint on. The parts that did chip off, I just went back over it, and it worked out fine. Again, I put 2 coats on. And I promise you I'm not going to make you watch me paint this whole thing. I'll do a little bit here, and then you'll see in the end how I finished it all up. I was trying to decide what color wax I wanted to use. This is a folk art antique wax, so I had these 2 pieces that were already dry. So I'm kind of using it as a sample. I'm going to paint on the antique wax and paint on the white wax, and then you wipe it off, and so I can see which one I like. And I actually end up using both of them. On this project I end up using the folk art white wax, so you go ahead and you basically just paint it on and wipe it off with a paper towel. And of course you could just leave the paint alone and not put any wax on it. It's all your preference what you would like to do. What's nice about using the wax, though, it helps to bring out the details in the casting, so that's why I choose to use it. So I'm kind of inspecting it, see if I need to do anything else to it, and I decide to put a pearl on the top of the jar. So there is the finished peacock feather jar. I really like how this turned out, and I can't wait to do another one. So here I go. This one was a chip dip jar. I think it was salsa or something. And I'm going to go ahead and use the IOD Mould Bird Song. And again, the Trimmings 2 mold. And I'm going to go ahead and put the trimmings around the top of the jar. As you can see, the trimmings did not go all the way around, so I had to cut another short piece and glue that on. I think what I would have done different was try and smash it in there a little bit better, and try to get the sides maybe glued a little bit tighter, because it did shrink up a little bit and there looked like it was a little bit of a crack, but it just adds to the charm of the jar. So, of course, as you can see, these are the birds from the IOD Mould Bird Song that I'm taking out of the mold and going to glue onto the jar. And again, I'll let this set overnight so that the air dry clay is nice and dry before I paint it. So it's the next day, and here I am painting. I did put a little trim on the top of this jar. And I'm going to go ahead and paint this up with the paint baking soda mixture. So again, for this one, I decided to use some E6000 glue and adhere a little pearl on the top. And this is how it turned out. You see that little crack there, but I think it just adds to the charm. I love how this turned out. For this one, I used again the Trimmings 2 mold and the wings and feather. No, it's not the wings and feather. It's the what is it? It's the butterfly. It's the butterfly mold on this one, and for whatever reason I didn't do the full video on it, but with the painting. But I went ahead and made some little butterflies, and I put them on top of the jar and raised them up a little bit with a little bit of clay underneath to give it a little pop. And for this one, I decided to use the Folk Art Antique Wax, which is darker obviously than the white wax. And I love how this turned out. I think it looks great. And for the last jar, I'm changing it up a little bit. I'm painting the whole jar black. It's just a black acrylic paint. So I'm going to put one coat, maybe 2 coats. I think I did 2 coats actually of the black paint. And then I'm going to go over that after it dries with the Craft Smart Crackle Medium. And then over that, I put white acrylic paint, and then let that dry. And then over that, once that was dry, I put black on again, and it gives it this cracked effect. So here I'm just ripping some cardboard apart. I took the top layer off so I can just see the corrugated part of it, and I'm going to rip the sides off. And I got this idea for this jar from a YouTuber, Dream Fairy DIY, and I will link her channel below. So I'm going to go ahead and glue this on just with some hot glue and paint that black. And then I grabbed these flowers I picked up, I believe, at Michael's, and I'm going to glue a couple of them together to give the flower some dimension, and then decide kind of where I want to put them on the jar. I believe I put like 3 little clusters of flowers on there. So here I'm trying to decide how I want this to look. You can see over on the left-hand side by my water bottle that I'm watching Netflix or something. I'm not too sure what on my phone. I usually watch it on my computer, but when somebody needs the internet, we have really slow internet here. I have to use just use my phone to use the data from my phone. So here I am taking some of these are buttons actually that I picked up, and I painted them like a silver gray. And I'm going to go ahead and hot glue those on. And these are some embellishments here from Tim Holtz, and I'm going to glue that on, and then I put some I painted the silver gray to match the other ones. So I figured out I'm watching The Witcher. I switched to a lot of different shows. I'm not sure what I'm having a hard time finding any Netflix shows. So if you see any that you like, let me know in the comments below. I'd love to find some new shows. I know there's some coming out on Netflix next week, like Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. I'm looking forward to that one. So here I am putting some little jewels in the middle. These are little pearls that I picked up, and then I take this sparkly paint, and has silver sparkles in it, and I go ahead and give just a little shine on these embellishments, on the flowers, and I'll put some on the cardboard piece that I put in there to highlight a little bit and help it to stand out a little bit better. And then I decided to put some more little pearls on these embellishments to help them stand out a little bit more and give it just a little bit more, I don't know, sparkle, shine, make it look pretty. So you can see a little bit of the crackle that turned out on the jar, and I like this one. It's a little bit different than the other ones, but it turned out great. So thanks for sticking to the end and watching this DIY jar decor using clay and other embellishments. And if you wouldn't mind, make sure you subscribe and comment and like, and have a DIY day.